What's good? It's Woog. So, Tame Impala just featured on SNL. They played their new single, Patience, and then they played this other song, Borderline. Now, Patience was their first single in a few years, and for hardcore Tame Impala fans, it was a little tough to stomach, being that Lonerism and Inner Speaker were what really drew me into Tame Impala. This just doesn't even fall into the same genre, really, of those two albums. It's closer to Currents. Currents, in my opinion, was the worst of the three albums. It had a couple really good songs, Let It Happen and The Less I Know The Better. The Less I Know The Better is one of their most famous tracks to date. And this first new single, Patience, was almost a poor man's version of The Less I Know The Better. It had a groovy instrumental. It wasn't nearly as captivating as The Less I Know The Better, but it wasn't bad. Definitely didn't really excite me as far as really anticipating this upcoming album. So on SNL, Tame Impala, Kevin Parker and company, played Patience first, and then they got into Borderline. Borderline sounds like a Jamiroquai song. If you're not familiar with Jamiroquai, look him up. He's an acid jazz slash funk slash soul slash disco artist from the 90s. And I think I like this Borderline song more than Patience, but it's still so far removed from Inner Speaker and Lonerism that, again, it's hard for me to get excited about this upcoming album, especially if Patience and Borderline are the two songs that Tame wants to showcase. You usually want to come out with at least one or two of your best songs from the album to get people excited, and to me, these two songs don't do it. Borderline will at least get stuck in my head to some degree just because of the repetitive phrasing. Dun, 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 dun. They pretty much repeat that for the entire song, more or less, minus a couple breakdowns. But it's mostly that, and that can get very catchy after hearing it a couple times. Now, here's where I would caution myself in my trepidation for this upcoming album. Let's wait till we hear the studio version of Borderline. We only got the live version, and to be honest, the live version of Patience wasn't as good as the studio recording that we've heard of Patience, and so we've now heard a live version of Borderline. So let's wait. Let's see what the studio version sounds like. If Kevin Parker is one thing, it's a studio savant. I mean, this guy gets down in the studio. He's just so sonically inclined that the finished product for these Tame Impala songs end up sounding exactly how he intends for them to sound. So Borderline sounded pretty good live. I can't wait to hear how that one sounds in its actual studio version. But still, I like songs like Mind Mischief, Why Won't They Talk to Me, It Feels Like We're Only Going Backwards, Solitude is Bliss, It's Not Meant to Be. I mean, you could go down the list. Elephant, Apocalypse Dream. I just don't feel like we're going to get any of that with this upcoming album. It sounds like it's going to be a lot closer to Currents than it is those first two albums. And I don't know where Kevin Parker hit the turning point in this type of creation. I don't know if it was him working with Mark Ronson. I don't know if this was just a natural change in evolution that he went through. I don't know if he's happier in his life because of successful relationships as opposed to isolationism, solitude, loneliness, and everything that was kind of a hallmark of those first couple albums. Maybe he's just happier now, and he's making slightly happier and groovier music. Maybe he just feels better, but damn. There's something to be said about the angst and about the despair and about the overall mind-numbingly psychedelic elements that were involved in those first couple albums, and I just wish that there was a way to harken back to that. This new Tame Impala sounds a lot less Pink Floyd, sounds a lot less, you fill in the blank in terms of what their early references might have been, and it sounds a lot more Jamiroquai, even a little Bee Gees if you want to talk The Less I Know The Better. And I'm just not as enthused about this new Tame Impala, this new Kevin Parker. But let me know what you thought of Borderline. It's got me feeling pretty lukewarm about this upcoming album, and I wish I could say differently, but it just sounds like it's disco pop, psych pop, and none of the rock. You can't even really call Tame Impala a rock artist. based on these last two songs or based on the previous album Currents. I'm sure they're gonna still roll out a lot of those classics, for lack of a better term, when they perform at this upcoming Coachella and in their current tour. But damn, this is a pretty dramatic shift for Kevin Parker. You know, with Currents, I was hoping that this was sort of a one-off, or maybe, you know, they were just kind of going through a phase and he just wanted to do it this way this time and then was going to kind of get back to his psychedelic rock roots, but it doesn't appear to be the case. But again, I want to hear your thoughts on Borderline. I want to hear your thoughts on Patience. And are you a Tame Impala fan to begin with? And if so, what is your favorite Tame album? I know that they made a lot of new fans with Currents because it had a different level of success, a different level of exposure. But to the hardcores out there, am I crazy? Are y'all feeling me on this one? Because sometimes I feel like I'm just hollering into the abyss and that most people really don't mind that Tame Impala's taking this new turn. So let me know what you think. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.